Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Maharani Sahel, and I'm here to explain you about testing grammar and vocabulary in language assessment. Okay, testing grammar. Why test grammar? First, control of grammatical structure was seen as the very core of language ability, and it will be unthinkable not to test it. 2. It is useful to diagnose what gaps exist in the repertoire of student. 3. It is helpful to inform teachers and learners to take responsibility for filling the existing gaps. Sorry. Testing grammar. A. Writing specification. It's for achievement tests where a teaching objective or syllabus lists the grammatical structure to be taught. Specification of content should be quite straightforward. Specification for a placement test will normally include all of the structure identified in this way, as well as, perhaps, those structures of comment of which is taken for granted in even the lowest classes. B. Sampling. This will reflect an attempt to give the test content validity by selecting widely from the structures specific. It should also take account of what are regarded for one reason or another as the most important structures. C. Writing items. Whatever techniques are chosen for testing grammar, it is important for the text item to be written in grammatically correct and natural language. Should avoid excessive use of multiple choice items. The techniques usually use paraphrase, completion, and modified clause. D. Scoring. If two elements are being tested in an item, then points may be assigned to each of them. For valid and reliable scoring of grammar items, scoring key is necessary. Okay, test example. Paraphrase. Paraphrase item require the student to write a sentence equivalent in meaning to one that is given. It is helpful to give part of the paraphrase in order to restrict the student to grammatical structure being tested. Example, testing present perfect with form. These are the example of paraphrase. Modified clause. Candidates are required to write the, a, or an a, no article. And this is the example of modified clause. Okay, next. Completion. This technique can be used to test a variety of structure, not how the context in passage like the following from the Cambridge First Certificate in English. Test spec 1. Also the tester to elicit specific structure, in this case interrogative forms. This is the example of complexion. Okay, next. Testing vocabulary. Why test vocabulary? First, if there is little teaching of vocabulary, it may be argued that there is a little call for achievement tests for vocabulary. At the same time, it is used to be hoped that vocabulary learning is taking place. Achievement tests that measure the extent of this learning and encourage it perhaps do have a part to play in institutional testing. 3. For those who believe that systematic teaching of vocabulary is desirable, vocabulary achievement tests are appreciated for their backwash effect. 4. The unuseful of general diagnostic tests of vocabulary is not readily apparent. As far as placement tests are concerned, we would not normally require or expect a particular set of lexical items to be a prerequisite for a particular language class. Next, Sorry. Testing vocabulary. A. Writing specification. If vocabulary is consciously being thought, then presumably all the items terribly present to the student should be included in the specification. Words should be grouped according to whether their recognition, recognition or their production is required. A subsequent step is to group the items in terms of their relative importance. B. Samplings. Words can be grouped according to their frequency and usefulness. Form each of these group. Items can be taken at random, with more being selected from the groups containing the more frequent and useful words. Next, C. Writing items. First, testing recognition ability. Recognize synonyms, recognize definition, and recognize appropriate word for content. Two, testing production ability. Picture, definition, and gap filling. Okay, and I think that's all that I can explain you about testing grammar and vocabulary in language assessment. Sorry if there's something wrong, and thank you for listening. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.